tonight we have Beth. I hate that. Like, what is that? I don't like it. We have Beth tonight. I actually spoke on her call last night. She is a part of the Push Elite with Josh Coates that we're in, but like a different group. She's like a little higher level executive group. So she's pretty awesome. I love her so much. She is literally the queen of reels. So she's going to kind of talk to us about Instagram reels and stuff like that. So if you aren't really using them to leverage, your target market and having fun, it is probably a really good idea to start. So I'm really excited for her tips. But she is 5-star in her first CBC, which means her first business. 3-star in her second, which means she opened another one of her, and she's 3-star in there. She's a 2021 elite coach and top 25. She's a Success Club 10 All-Star legend, meaning she always hits Success Club 10 plus. And she's a wife and mama and pregnant with number 2 with a face because she's been really sick lately. And she also lives in Texas. So super excited. Thank you, Beth. Really appreciate it. I will let you share your screen too in case you need to do that.
Awesome.
All right, take it over.
Cool. I do not need to share my screen at this point, but just what's up, you guys? So I am first of all so honored to be here with all of you. It's kind of it always feels like a full circle moment for me to be talking or teaching or training or mentoring about social media, because social media for me, and maybe some of you all can relate, it was like the one piece of my business when I decided to really go all in as a coach that almost prevented me from being able to do so, because I was just so afraid of social media. I really have had to work through and overcome being fearful about, judgment, what other people are going to think about me by putting myself out there. Contrary to what most people believe, I'm severely introverted and super shy. And I just had a lot of baggage to unpack when I first became a coach. So having to unpack that, I've always felt like sharing on social media kind of serves as like a form of therapy, right? Because in order to write the post or put the words on paper or turn it into a reel or whatever the case may be, you have to really reflect and unpack and write it, speak it, put it down, and then be vulnerable enough to share it. So I hope maybe that can give you a little bit of confidence in knowing that if that is where you're at, or maybe you have coaches who are kind of in that place of really feeling like they're struggling with sharing for that reason or for whatever reason, let my story be one of hope. I hope it can be that for you. So here's the thing. I am about to condense 43 minutes worth of content. That's typically about how long it takes me to get through the tips that I want to share with you guys into 25 or 30, because I know that some of you are going to be hopping off onto Josh Coates' call. So I want to make sure that we get all the goods in there. But just know that if you have any questions, throw them up in the chat. And even if I don't get them to them before you have to hop off, I'll take a picture of them or something, and I'll even record a little extra, 5-minute Zoom or something for Bailey to share with you guys to go over them, because I feel like that's one of the most powerful things when you have a guest speaker on your calls and you're hearing from different perspectives, is to make sure that the content is catering to exactly where you're at, right? So before I keep going, I would love to know in the chat, if you are doing reels right now, about how many, it doesn't have to be, perfect, but on average, about how many a week would you say that you're doing? And if you're not doing them currently, why? What is holding you back? Even if you are doing them, maybe you're not doing them as consistently or as many as you want. Why? What is holding you back? Oh no, Claire, you can get access to reels. Okay, 2 to 3. 2 to 3 seems to be a pretty 1 to 2 bi-weekly. Okay, I'm not doing them. Okay, cool. Keep those coming. And I want you to share why. Why are you not doing them, or why are you not doing them more? Okay, so while you guys are doing that, I'm going to jump into this. So here's what I don't want to do. I'm not going to teach you how to use reels because there are YouTube videos and people on Instagram. Everything that I have learned about reels and social media has come from Brock Johnson. I know you guys have probably heard of him, follow him, all the things. So I'm not going to regurgitate that information because it is out there and you have access to that, right? What I want to share with you is specific tips. I have 7 to be exact, of things that I have done ways that I have utilized Reels to convert new followers to customers, right? Like that is the purpose of us reaching more people on social media. The goal is to convert new followers to customers, specifically within your niche. So kind of how I like to think of Reels in like our IPA funnel, if you will, right? IPAs meaning the income producing activities. So you guys know on the business activity tracker, our IPAs are.
Sorry, I know. Didn't mean for it to take this long. I'm helping him hang it.
Sorry.
It's okay. Our IPAs are expanding, connecting, inviting, and following up, right? So for me, the expanding piece is my Reels. Connecting almost always happens, you know, in my stories, and then the invite and the follow-up happen in the DMs. That's kind of like how I think when you can attach the value of a reel to an income producing activity, you maybe see more of the value in it, right? And it makes more sense as to why you should be doing them. So for me, Reels takes care of my expanding. I really started leaning into Reels like, gosh, it was probably early April. I had kind of dabbled in them here or there, but early April, I really decided to go all in on my Reels. And I'm going to share some stats with you guys because I want there to be like some validity behind the tips that I'm going to give you, okay? And I'm going to share some stats relative to my business so that you can see the correlation between the two, right? Because it does not matter how many views you get or how many followers you get if they're not converting. But what Reels has allowed me to do is for the past 2.5 months, I have not had to spend 1 minute, not 1 minute, going to somebody's page and somebody's likers and commenters of their page and finding somebody and following them and responding to their stories and connecting on their page, all the things, right? Like, you know, the expanding piece of our business where you intentionally go find people in your niche, right? I have not had to do that for 60 days or more, 60 to 75 days because of Reels. So one of the things, we're going to talk through my 7 tips, and then I'm going to give you kind of 5, I'm going to address 5 of kind of the common excuses, if you will, just some tough love here, as to why, like the most common excuses as to why I hear coaches aren't using Reels, because I think that it will help you, first of all, not feel isolated in that you're using one of these as an excuse. But one of those being that you feel like your time is better spent elsewhere, right? Like, I don't have time to make Reels. You need to find time and make the time and build in the time to create Reels, because Instagram has literally told us that Instagram Reels is you actually holding the key in your hand to reaching more people. And I want you to think about how it would feel to be able to go, let me see for those of you that have your camera on, by a show of hands, how many of you have ever, like maybe Bailey or whoever your upline coach is like, look, you need to go to your stories and you need to connect with and invite all the people who are watching your stories. How many of you have ever gotten to a point where you're like, there are no new eyes on my stories. The same 103 people watch my stories every single day. I cannot possibly have a new conversation with any of them because, like, you know, I already have. Okay, I want you to think about what it would feel like to be able to go into your stories and set a timer for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and not even be able to remotely get close to making a touch point with every single new eye on your story. What would that feel like? What would it feel like if you had more new eyes on your stories every single day than you could even possibly spend the time, right? Overwhelming. Yeah. Well, that's like, see, here's the thing about that, Jordan. Let me tell you. That's the thing about this business. It doesn't matter if you're a new coach who's trying to get new eyes, or you're like bringing in new followers every day and you're like, I don't know what to do with them. That's like, you just gotta keep going. Like, there's always going to be levels of that. So I don't know if that like gives you confidence or not, but right. Like, sign me up. That is the goal. And that is why you cannot afford to not be doing Reels. Okay. So here are some stats that I want to correlate my growth on my Instagram to my business so that you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from. So in a matter of 30 days, when I really went all in on Instagram Reels, I grew my following by 25,000, a little shy of 25,000, like 24,965 or something like that. 30 days, 25,000 new followers. I pretty much doubled my following. I had like a little over 20,000 followers and I grew up to like 50 and some change. I had 11 Reels with over 1 million views and 2 with over 2 million views and a ton with like 500,000 to 700,000. Now here's here's like, those numbers don't really mean anything. Like they're viral for me. We're going to talk about viral for me in just a second. But what they also did was, I've never been like a super high recruiter. Even last year, our team saw a lot of success and growth last year. And I still averaged like, I'm not like discounting Success Club 40, but that's about what I averaged. Like we were in the top 10 for 6 months of last year, and I still averaged like Success Club 40, which is amazing. That's 20 new women a month, but it's not like, I mean, I know like Bailey spoke on my team call the other night, and she's like, I averaged Success Club 60, 70. I'm like, what? So I've like never been a super huge high recruiter. The most number of Success Club points I've ever gotten in 1 month was last March at the beginning of COVID, and I hit Success Club like 63 or something like that. The past 2 months, with this growth on my Instagram, I ended, what I don't even know what this month is, y'all. I'm pregnant. June, May, April. April and May, I ended at Success Club 98. So for me, that's like, what, 2 and some change times more Success Club points than I've ever gotten before. And it is directly correlated to my growth on Instagram. Because here's the thing, with Reels doing my expanding, guess what I get to spend my time doing? Connecting with really incredible people that then join my bootcamp and or my team. That is the fun thing about this work, right? Like if you could just spend all day like loving on people who are in your niche, who are gonna like potentially join your group or your team, and you're gonna have a slumber party with someday, and you get to talk about life, like that's the fun thing about this work that we don't always get to spend all of our time doing, right? Because we have to find new people, and then, you know, we also have, there's so many moving pieces to our business. But because Reels has taken care of that piece, the expanding piece of my business, I never run out of incredible people to talk to. Okay, and my business growth is a direct reflection of that. So I wanted to tie those two together because I think it's so important that you really see this from the perspective of being able to eliminate whatever excuse you have for not utilizing Reels to like the most of your benefit and to your advantage. Because yeah, Jordan, I'll talk about that too. Because you need to see how it can pay off in your business. Okay, so here's my 7 tips, and here's something that you're gonna like very clearly see about my 7 tips. You're probably gonna be like, oh yeah, I've already heard that. Oh yeah, that's nothing special. And I hope that instead of you like rolling your eyes and not learning anything new, that instead you leave this call and you're like, okay, I guess I just need to like suck it up and do it, because the things Beth told me are the same things I've been hearing, and her stats are proof that it works. Okay, so here's my 7 tips. My first tip, and don't, I'm gonna look away from the screen so I can not catch all the eye rolls or the big size, right? When I saw my most growth, those 30 days that I got almost 25,000 new followers, I was making 1 static post on my feed a day, and I was posting 1 reel every single day of the week, and 2 days a week I posted 2 reels. So I'm not gonna look at the screen. 1 static post and 1 reel, and then 2 days a week I posted 2 reels, okay? And I'll talk about how that's feasible. Not saying that that's what you have to do, but it's important to pay attention to what's working for you. And what worked for me when I saw my most growth was that, because here's what would happen. 1 to 2 to 3 weeks, and this is important, after I would post a reel, it would take off. My reels they never take off right away. So if I'm posting that many, that consistently, guess what would happen? Multiple reels would go viral at once. Those 11 reels that I had that all got over 1 million views, that was in the span of 30 days, right? That's almost half the reels that I posted went that kind of viral, because it was happening at the same time. And that's where that kind of growth came from. I'm not saying that that's what has to happen for you to see insane growth. I'm just telling you, like I said, that's what was working for me at that time. So play around with it, be super consistent with it, and see what works best for you. My second tip is to pay attention to what people like to see from you. What people like to see from me is very different than what they like to see from Bailey, right? And what I mean by that is my reels that get the most traction, they're niched down, not like super niche down, but they are not, literally none of my reels with what I would consider like value, right? Like my clean eating tips or my personal development recommendations or my morning routine, whatever, like those fall so flat for me. I include them, right? Because I want people to find inspiration and motivation when they come to my page, which is why my static posts are still super important. Because the reels for me that get the most traction are the ones that take me like 3 seconds to record. Most of the time they're voiceovers, and they're like quirky and like kind of funny, but not really, but they have a viral sound attached to them, and people just giggle, and they like the views go crazy, right? The engagement is crazy. That may not be what works for you, right? But I played around with that and found that that is what worked for me. So that's what I give the people more of. And then I build in my static posts, and of course my stories, where I'm really able to, because for me, how many of you guys are like, you spend like 3 days writing like the most vulnerable post on the planet, right? And you get like the perfect picture, and you're like, okay, 5-second rule, I'm gonna post it. And then somebody's like, hey, where'd you get that sports bra? You're like, did you even read what I wrote in the caption? You know what I mean? But that's just like, that's how social media works. So I sprinkle those posts like about coaching, inviting to my boot camps, my transformation pictures. Those are sprinkled in on my feed, but my reels, my like simple, quirky reels, that's what brings people to my feed. And then they can see what else I'm about, okay? So pay attention to what your people like. My third tip is to give yourself permission to literally make a reel out of anything. Like if you made a post 2 weeks ago that you really loved, make it again, but turn it into a reel this time. Like there's nothing wrong with recreating content that you've already used, whether it performed well or not, right? For example, a couple weeks ago, I get a lot of questions about my personal development because I share it on my stories most mornings, and specifically about like what books I recommend. So I was going to make a post with me, like, holding my books, like, here's my 5, top personal development books, and here's why I love them. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to turn this into a reel. It took me like 10 minutes to record. The reel didn't go viral for me. It got like 40,000 views though. And when I compare that to what a static post reaches, my static posts get hardly any traction, right? They're just not being shown to enough people. So I just turned that into a reel. And even though it didn't go viral for me, it still reached way more people than my static post would have reached. So give yourself permission to recreate content in the form of reels, or anytime you have any kind of a thought that you want to turn into a post, make it into a reel as well. My fourth tip is to batch create your content. It's one of the most common kind of excuses that I hear about reels is that I don't have time to make reels. You do have time to make reels, you just need to find the time. Like you need to build it in to your tracker in some capacity. What I like to do and what works best for me is on Sundays, I set a timer for 15 minutes and I scroll through the Reels tab. And I save sounds or I save ideas that I can come back to. Set a timer when you do this, or you will scroll Reels just like you do TikTok, or do it on TikTok if you want. I don't use TikTok, but you can use whatever. You will, like, you have to go down an intentional rabbit hole here, right? With a timer set, or you're going to be like, oh my gosh, my whole power hour just went away and I didn't do crap. So set a timer, find sounds. And here's the other thing about that too. Those of you that have been coaching for a while, you may have already like trained your brain to think this way. How many of you have been coaching for a while? Like, I don't know, you go somewhere or you're doing something and you're like, oh, that would make a great picture. Oh, I need to take a picture over there. You know what I mean? You've trained your brain to think in the space of content, right? Because social media is your storefront as a coach. Once you get into the consistent habit of intentionally watching reels for sounds and ideas, your brain will just, like, even if you don't know what the exact idea you're going to use for that reel, sound, or whatever is going to be, you'll be able to know that you can do something with it when the inspo hits, right? So you can save them pretty quickly and move on. And then on Mondays, I set a timer for 45 minutes and I just batch create as many of them as I can. So on Sunday, 15 minutes going through them, saving them. Monday, 45 minutes, just because that's what works with my schedule right now. I have a toddler at home. And I batch create them. So find a system that works for you and do that. My fifth tip is to use viral sounds. You guys have probably heard that. Viral sounds just get more traction. It is what it is. Get creative with them. You can turn a viral sound into a completely different concept than anybody has seen or heard. My sixth tip is to pay attention to. I always try to figure out a way to say this without making you feel like you have to be put together every time you do a reel. It kind of goes back to paying attention to like what people like to see, right? So it's kind of like thinking about creating reels from a marketing perspective. So for me, like I said, I can like pour my heart and soul out into a post or even into a reel. and somebody will be like, oh, what's that lip color? Or what kind of extensions do you have? Or what kind of foundation do you use? Or where'd you get your sports bra? So whenever I'm making a reel, not always, sometimes I'm like, all the time I'm like, done is better than perfect. But if I have the time like built in, I will kind of, you know, I'll put on a really cute top or a shirt, or I'll do my hair a different way, or I'll change up my lip color, or I'll do something that's going to force people to engage on the reel and ask me a question. I bet I get like 30 comments on every reel about the lip color that I'm wearing. It just is what it is. So even if I like am not put together, I will throw on a lip color just to force people to ask me that question so that I can engage on my content with them. So think about things like lighting, or, you know, just like from a, I don't know how else to explain it besides like from a marketing perspective, what's going to force engagement on your content. My 7th tip is this is the most important one. Are you ready for this? Keep your blinders on. Keep your blinders on in 2 different capacities. The first capacity is in terms of content. You guys, I can promise you what is working so well for me right now is not going to necessarily be the thing that works for you. I think I saw like Bailey's comment up here. She said, my body confidence ones shoot up and skyrocket. My recipes don't. My other reels never get more than 6,000 views. See? So it's like, and for me, what I love sharing is I love sharing like the quirky part of my personality in the fun reels. But I really love pouring my heart and soul into like an inspirational reel, but they don't perform very well. So I leverage the quirky ones because that's what people like to see, to bring people to my page. And then I put the other ones in there so that I can keep them there and inspire them. You know what I mean? So like, and I also dabbled with like doing like workout circuits. Like I think Bailey does those on hers too, but I would do like reels and workout circuits, even created like a whole guide section for workout circuits. And those are like total flop for me. Like people that come to my page are not interested in them. But if it's a reel about being an introvert, about having an unexpected second pregnancy, or just like mom life, cool mom life stuff, they just perform really well for me. So keep your blinders on and just figure out what works for you and your niche. And then also keep your blinders on when it comes to looking at the number of views that other people's reels get, okay? The viral for me thing that I've been throwing around is something that Brock Johnson talks about, and he describes viral for me as you having a reel that gets more views than the number of followers you have, right? So if you have 1,200 followers and you have a reel that gets 2,500 views, like that's viral for you. That's amazing. Your content reached more people than the number of people that follow you, right? Like that's huge. Celebrate that. Like recognize that for what it is. And don't feel like just because you didn't get 100,000 views or 500,000 views or 1 million views or whatever, that content was a flop or that it didn't work, right? There are lots of things that play into people being able to see our content on social media, right? And so you have to keep your blinders on, and you have to really just like keep your head down and keep staying consistent, okay? I want you to think about it like this. Maybe some of you can relate. I remember so vividly when I graduated college, I was applying for jobs, and almost every job that I applied for said 5 to 7 years of experience, must have 5 to 7 years of experience, must have 5 to 7 years of experience. And I'm like, bro, I just graduated. Like, how do you expect me to have 5 to 7 years of experience? Here, and I would tell my husband, I would say, gosh, if I could just get in the interview room with them. Like if I could just get an interview and I could get in the room with them, I know they would hire me. Like, I just need to get in the interview room. But they wouldn't give me a chance to get into the interview room, right? Because I didn't have 5 to 7 years of experience on paper. I think about that in the same way that I think about our Instagram stories, right? 98% of my business comes straight from my stories. I'm sure it does for a lot of you too. I've always felt like if I could just get more eyes on my stories, like I just need people to find me in my little corner of the internet and just watch my stories, and I know that they would sign up with me, right? But we have to get them there. Reels gets them there if you stay consistent for long enough, okay? Let me recap those 7 really quick, and then I'm gonna jump into my 5 excuses. And I'm talking really fast because I know some of you guys have to jump off. So 7 tips. My most growth happened when I made 1 static post and 1 reel post a day. 2 days a week, I made 2 reels. Number 2, pay attention to what your people like to see. Number 3, give yourself permission to make a reel out of any post. Number 4, batch create your content. Find a system that works for you. Number 5, use viral sounds. Number 6, pay attention to lighting and things from a marketing perspective. And number 7, keep your blinders on. And I promise you number 7 is the most important, because here's what you're going to do. You're going to make a reel or 2, or like most of you earlier said, you do 2 to 3 a week. You're going to do 2 to 3 a week. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to go, it's not working. Why am I even bothering? Like, what am I even doing? I'm just wasting my time. I know we've all thought that, right? I always like to compare that to a story. Whenever I decided to go all in on my coaching business, it was the last day of my first full month of like, I'm doing the dang thing, right? I had 4 Success Club points, and it was 3 minutes until the cutoff deadline, the 11:59 Eastern time for the end of the month. And I put my phone away, and I went into the bedroom. My husband was already asleep, and I sat down on the floor beside the bed, and I just started crying. And he like woke up, and he was like, "Are you good? Like, what's happening?" And I was like, nobody loves these programs as much as me. Nobody loves this business as much as me. I'm supposed to help 3 people this month, and I only helped 2. And what am I going to do? So dramatic, right? But we've all been there at some point, whether it's a Miss Success Club goal or a rank or something. And he was like, well, you either quit or you wake up tomorrow and you try again. Duh, right? Like, what else am I going to do? Reels is no different, right? We are always faced with moments in our business where it's like, you either throw in the towel and you quit, or you pick yourself back up and you figure out how to keep going. It doesn't make sense. Like, think about when you work with your new coaches, or if you've ever been in a position like what I was in when I was sitting on my bedroom floor being really dramatic that first month. Think about when you've been in that moment, or you've had a coach in that moment where they're like, oh my God, I'm in Success Club. Like, it's the end of the world. It's like, no, it's not. Like, I'm sorry that you didn't hit your goal, but guess what? Tomorrow's a brand new month, and you have 30 more days of opportunity to make it happen again. Why would you quit? It doesn't make sense. You're telling me that all the work that you've done in your own journey and in the 2 people that you helped last month, that all of that was for nothing? So you're just going to quit? Like, that doesn't even rationally make sense. And I always ask myself, like, are you willing to be the Beth that you were before you became a coach? And the answer is always no. So of course I'm not going to quit. So when a reel doesn't go viral, or it doesn't live up to your expectations, why would you quit? What is the opportunity cost of that? You're not going to reach anybody if you stop posting reels, right? So post them more consistently. Figure out ways to speak to your audience through them. Give yourself time. And we all know that in this business, consistency and longevity win every single time. So just because something isn't taking off, or you feel like it's not working for you, Instagram tells us that it works. I'm telling you that it works. So just do it. Keep doing it and don't stop. It doesn't make sense to stop. Okay, the 5 excuses really quick, and then I'll wrap this up in the next 4 minutes. First excuse, it's not working, so you stop. We can skip right over that one. I just kind of harped on that one a little bit. That it doesn't make sense. The opportunity cost of you not continuing to keep posting reels is to literally not reach anybody by not posting reels, right? It just does not make sense. So go on ahead and scratch that one off. Number 2, you think that your time is best spent elsewhere. No, it is not. Like I told you guys, I was able to completely take out the expanding piece of my power hours every single day, because, and something that Bailey talked about on our team call Monday night is how she sends welcome messages to all of her new followers. I used to do that too, until my reels made it impossible for me to send a welcome message to the new followers that I get every single day. Great problem to have, right? We can't look at it as overwhelming, right? We just have to create a new system to keep moving forward. And that's what you want. Your time is not better spent elsewhere. If your goal is to help people and to help as many people as possible, you need to be reaching as many people as possible. And you're going to do that through reels. Number 3, I don't know how to use reels, or using reels is too complicated. And here's some tough love for you guys. You're a business owner with a free storefront platform. Figure out how to use reels. I promise you, if you Google or go to YouTube and you're like, how do I make a reel? Or how do I make the text? GTS. How do I move the text around to pop up? Literally, if you Google that, you will find it. I have even, like, there's been a sound that I've heard somewhere that I maybe didn't save, or I can't find where I saved it. I can literally go to Google and type in the TikTok or the reel sound that had, this is so random, that had a dog barking and a horn beeping. And I promise you, I will find the sound, right? Like, you can literally find everything on Google and YouTube. 4th excuse is that you're not comfortable on camera. first of all, you can create reels without physically talking to your camera. There's lots of those out there that do really well. But secondly, action breeds confidence. So do it and get better at it along the way. And then the fifth excuse is that you feel like your reels have to be perfect and you don't have time for that. Here's the thing about this business. This is a relationship business, right? I like to call it a relationship business. Nobody connects with anything being perfect. And here's another little fun for you guys. Well, I'm not gonna type it out, but like reel, R-E-E-L, reels create relationships. No? Okay. It's almost past my bedtime, but that's just it, right? This is a relationship business. Perfectionism is not welcome here regardless. So, just get out of your own way and just do the dang thing. And I'm hopeful that, you guys, I am not a social media expert. Like I learn something new about social media every single day. Social media, like I said earlier, is like the one thing about this business that almost prevented me from doing it because I was so afraid to share. And you just have to find ways to make it your own. Like there's nothing more special or more talented about me on social media than there is you, outside of my consistency over time with utilizing a actual key to reaching more people. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I don't know if do you want me to answer a couple questions and just let people hop off, or do you want to end here?
Yeah, I'm not hopping off anytime.
Okay.
So I saw one in here. Is it important to keep reels on your profile grid? Can you hide them or should you keep them on there?
Yeah, so my take on this is absolutely. I used to like make the perfect little cover photos for every reel that matched my grid. And then if it didn't match perfectly, I would take it off my feed and leave it on the reel tab. Don't do that, you guys. I know that like aesthetics on Instagram are still a thing, but like perfectly curated, like I think about like, and I don't know, maybe this is just me. I think about like some, bloggers or influencers page that I go to. Maybe they do like fashion or something, or even like fitness. And it's like every picture is like the same exact thing. I don't follow them because that doesn't look like a real person to me. Like I want the lighting to be good. And I use relatively the same filter on all my pictures. So there is like an attractiveness to it, but I do not make cover photos for my reels. I literally grab a screen grab and it goes on my feed, and you can go to my feed and look, and it's like, I feel like it's inviting enough to obviously make people want to follow me back. It's not like pretty and perfect, but it's attractive enough. But I feel like more importantly than that, it shows that I'm like a real person with like facial expressions and, stuff like that. So I say leave them all on your feed. And I also say, I used to spend so much time, I'm sure you guys can relate too. It's like you have the perfectly written post, but you don't have a picture to go with it, or you have a really awesome picture, but you don't know what to say. I used to spend so much time not posting. Like the start would stop me. I would not post because I didn't have a picture to post with it. I am not about to spend extra time making cover photos for the reels that I already had to build in time to make. So I'm just like not about that life. So yeah, I say post them to your feed and just use a screen grab because it looks more real to me.
I think on your screen grabs you have like the same text font, right? Like it's all like the white with the blackish background text.
Yeah, so that is something that I pretended to be consistent about for a while, and then I feel like I just posted one today with yellow text. That was like my way of trying to be cohesive. But honestly, the reason why it's black and white is because I'm too lazy to like pick another color. And that's what happens when you hit the make it bold thing. It just turns to black or white. But totally something you could do if cohesiveness is important to you. Like if you have like a brand color or, something like that, just make all of your text on the cover, on the screen grabs that you're grabbing the same color. And that will provide, a pretty cohesive look with the reels that you're posting. That's a good. I'm glad that it appears that I do that intentionally though.
I'll notice it. I don't know. Okay. This one says, I'm not doing them. I haven't downloaded TikTok again yet. Do you think that people need TikTok in order to find sounds and ideas?
I do not have a TikTok, so no.
Okay, perfect. I'm trying to, okay, I see one that says, I have no idea what to do. If you could give 2 ideas to go look, what would your top 2 tips be for that? Like for your target market, would you?
So I don't search for reels. I literally click on the reels tab at the bottom and I just scroll through them, or I go to the explore page and I click on the reel that is popped up in my explore tab and I scroll through them that way. But I mean, you can search, like if you search a hashtag on the explore page that's related to your niche, you'll find reels that are related to them. I will say that I feel like we oftentimes prevent ourselves from taking action because we overthink things, you know? So I would say like either search hashtags to find some that are relative to your niche, or just scroll the reels tab and you can literally train your brain to like think and look for sounds that you could, you know, turn something into. And even if you can't in the moment, save them and come back to them when you do, you know, when you are batch creating and you have some inspo.
Awesome. Let's see. I get tons of likes, but can't get them to follow. How do you entice the following? And then she said, it doesn't show you who. Yes, if you click underneath the heart on your reel, you can see who, like you can see the plays and then you can see liked by.
Yeah.
So what's your number one tip on how to like get them to follow you?
So here's the thing about that. I feel like my goal when somebody comes across my reel is that my reel was niche enough that they want to see more, that they want to click on my name and that they want to come to my profile. Once they're on my profile, I want my bio. So like optimizing your bio is super important. I want my bio and my feed, those other like static posts and things that I have sprinkled out on my feed, and my stories that I have up. This is where consistency and showing up is so important, because if somebody comes across your reel and then they come to your page and they see that you don't consistently post content, there's no value for them there, you don't have stories up, or they're unclear about what they're going to get from your page based on your bio, they're not going to follow you back, right? So think about it from that perspective. Like, okay, they come across my reel, like I need to, if they are my niche, they're going to come to my page. How can I make them click that follow button? And I feel like my thing is like, they'll come to my page and then they'll just get lost in my reels. Like they'll just start scrolling through my reels. And then they're like forced to follow me because they're 10 minutes in. So I think that comes with all of that to be said. Make sure that your reels are consistently niche specific. Make sure that your bio is optimized and that your grid and your stories are consistently posted on and shared too. Think about like when you come across people in reels and you go to their page, like what helps you decide if you want to follow them or not, and just do the same thing on your page. That's helpful.
She also has in her bio keeping it really funny, like just like she talked about on the call. So it's like just the things that resonate with what she says too.
Yeah.
I saw one up above. It says, I've been trying to make cover photos on Canva, but does not show the whole picture. I believe you need Instagram story size if you're making a cover.
Yeah. But you guys, I'm telling you, if you're like running out of time to make content because you're spending time making cover photos,
yeah, just do like the cover and then you can kind of screen grab it and drag the thing and add text or whatever. When you reach out to people to engage, does it have to do with the reel or what you saw on their page, or do you let them message you?
So how I engage with people is I do my darndest to make sure that every comment on my reels has a response. So I'll respond to them. If they are like super niche and I'm like, I want to be her friend, then I will add her page to like a collection just so that I can like, you know, go back and make sure that I love on her extra. But you guys, that's how I like engage back with them on my post. But all of my invites and connecting comes from my stories. And that's the reference that I made earlier where I said I could literally stay in my stories for a full 60-minute power hour and never touch every single new eye that's on my stories that day. And that's the goal. So if you're watching my stories, I know like everybody does their connecting and inviting flow differently, but for me, if you're watching my stories, you're opening up the door for me to invite you. You're obviously like vibing with what I'm doing. You like me because you're still here, kind of a thing. So I send a message that says something along the lines of, I want them to know a couple things. I want them to know that I am so appreciative that they're there. Like, think about social media these days. Like, people have to be severely intentional about who they follow. Like, there's a lot of toxicity on social media. So thank you for being here. Like, I don't take it lightly that you've decided to follow me. You could say like, I hope you find, value in my page and get a little laugh every now and then. If you ever want more info on one of my accountability groups, I actually have a new one starting on Monday. I would love to share some more info with you. So it's like a thank you for being here. I don't take it lightly. Like, genuinely, regardless of what comes of this friendship, I'm excited that you're here. I hope that you find value in my page. I hope that I can make you laugh. And a little soft invite for you. If you ever want more info on my bootcamp, I have one starting on this day. I would love to share that with you, kind of a thing. And that's my way of kind of bridging the gap between somebody being a follower and me inviting them. So I feel like I'm connecting with them and softly inviting them, just letting them know that I do something that they can be a part of in case, they obviously are new here. And then even if they don't like respond or join me at that time, at least the seed was planted that, I do something that they could be a part of and that I'm genuinely, glad that they're here. I feel like it's kind of similar to your welcome message, Bailey, that you send to your new followers, except I just pull them straight from my stories and I add a soft invite because I feel like they're opening the door for me to do that with them engaging on my stories. That is literally where every single one of my invites come from, is my stories. And I feel like that should be the goal. Like, the goal should be to get eyes on your stories because that is the bread and butter of our business. Like, there's just so much power to people getting to know you on video versus just a static post in your feed with a caption,
Love it. Do you recommend Brock and Shalene's Insta Club Hub? I've really considered it, but haven't bit the bullet. And then there's a next question after that.
Okay, so I have never been a part of the Insta Club Hub. I will say that I've heard that there's a lot of value in there, but I will also say, you guys, if you follow Brock Johnson, I have literally never paid for Instagram help or training because of the free value that guy has on his page. Like, I mean, if you feel like you maybe need some, I don't even know that there's accountability in the Insta Club Hub, but if maybe, I don't know, maybe if you feel like you have some skin in the game, I know it's pretty inexpensive. I think it's like 30 or 40 bucks a month now. It used to be like 20, but if you feel like having some skin in the game, like 30 bucks a month or whatever it is, will help hold you accountable to like actually taking action, then I say go for it. But if that's not something that you want to invest in right now, then just build in time to learn, learn from the free content on his page. And there are other, there are so many social media people on Instagram that provide free value like that. So I can't personally say because I've never been in Insta Club Hub, but I've heard great things about it. The 2 days you're doing 2 reels and a static post. Not always. If I was posting 2 reels a day, I didn't post a static post unless I just really had something that I wanted to get up or say. So I would do a static post and a reel or 2 reels. Kind of. You don't engage for a certain amount of time before inviting. So I think this is super relevant, Jordan, to where you're at in your business, because up until I had this kind of traction on my Instagram, I absolutely spent more time connecting. Like, I didn't have the new eyes on my stories to not. I really heavily utilized collections on Instagram, and I would do a lot of engaging before inviting. But here's the thing about that too, and I know, we're all different. I didn't really love that piece. I felt like I loved it at first, but I kind of got to a point where like here's my intent. I want you to, like, if you're in my niche market and I know that we could be friends, like, I want you in my circle. Like, I know that if you're in my challenge group, we're going to talk more, because Instagram DMs get lost, right? And I talk to so many people on Instagram a day that, like, I'm probably going to forget your name. But if you're in my challenge group or you're a coach on my team, like, I know that our bond is going to be more special. So, so I don't want to, like, necessarily, like, spend a lot of time talking about how cute your puppy is or your kid's clothes or, like, whatever. Like, I want you to do life with me and maybe do Beachbody with me, right? So I just felt like I was kind of being drained from loving on people who weren't loving on me back. Like, I would go into my collections and I would, like, love on people, but then, like, it wasn't reciprocated. So then I felt like I was spinning my wheels and wasting time. And then there's, like, always the transition between, like, okay, when do you send the invite? Like, how many conversations passed? Does it feel comfortable to send the invite? And have I connected with them enough? And, but that has always worked in my business up until 2 months ago, right? Like, that was the system that I followed. But then when I started utilizing Reels and I saw a big influx in growth, and those people were not only converting to followers, they were converting to story viewers. I find so much more joy in going into my stories, seeing new eyes and being like, hey, thank you for being here. I don't take it lightly. I hope that you love my page. If you ever want more info, let me know. And that starts a much deeper conversation than like, hey girl, where'd you get your shoes? You know what I mean? Because then that conversation then when I see, Kimberly's page pop up on my Instagram feed, I'm like, oh, Kimberly, like, yeah, we talked about, even if she didn't join my challenge group, we talked about how she found me through this reel and she loved my page because she really connected with this. And I'm like, oh yeah, Kimberly, right? So then it feels more natural for me to be like, girl, where did you get those shoes, right? Because I recognize her name and there was a relationship established there that was just like on a deeper level. And that's just kind of what I'm like, it just feels more authentic to me. So I'm not saying like go straight for the jugular and the invite with the stories. I'm saying do what feels natural and comfortable, not necessarily comfortable, but authentic to you in that capacity, and give yourself permission to allow that to kind of morph and transform into whatever it needs to be based on your growth and your new story viewer eyes and like what feels good. I'm such a firm believer in that. Every single piece of the IPA puzzle, like expanding, connecting, inviting, and following up, while they may be uncomfortable, right? Because we have to like get out of our own way and send the invite or follow up with I always say that I follow up with people until they block me or die. And that can be uncomfortable, right? As a newer coach, you feel like you're harassing people or you're like bugging them. But so I'm not saying like it's always going to be comfortable, but there should always be joy found in the moving pieces. And if you feel like if you go 7 days without sending invites and that box on your tracker is blank for, multiple days in a row, even just 2 or 3, there's probably a reason why you're not doing it. So figure out what that gap is and figure out a way to bring joy back into it. And for me, that shift happened whenever Reels started doing my expanding for me, and I could really spend time connecting with people who were watching my stories. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, back to the Brock Johnson thing. I know there's a coach, her name's Kate Nelson. I know you said keep your blinders on, but her reels started popping up on my Explore page, and she did a transformation reel, you guys. Got 4 million views, and she gained 17,000 followers from that reel. Like, it was insane. And like I've seen her page grow because I follow her, and I was just like insane. So the power behind this is not to be like, go make more videos, go make more things, go do more things, and go be busier on top of what you're already doing. This is for your business. Like, if you guys want to grow a business and grow relationships, you have to utilize all the tools that social media gives you, so that's literally what this call is about. And it's just mind-blowing what this can do for your business. Even if it's 15K views, who wants that? Like, who wants to see that number grow? That's awesome, right? Like 6,000, 8,000, like always trying to beat your best. If you get 500 views, maybe your goal is 1,000, and then you move up and move up. So all of these,
about what 100 new followers a week. Like, that's totally feasible with Reels. That's 100 new people that could get your welcome message, that will watch your stories. It's like, yeah, you really, I think what you said, Bailey, about like, I don't want you to feel like it's like, okay, let me add one more thing to this really overwhelming checkbox of things that I'm supposed to do every day. But it's like, instead, understand how spending a little bit of time there every week literally takes care of one of these for you, so that you can spend more time doing the things that you love.
Yep. I saw one last one, and then we can cut it off. Is there a certain time you post your reels where you get more interaction? Did you answer that? I don't think
I did not answer that, but that's a pretty simple one. So I would recommend having a creator account or even a business page, but mine is a creator. If you click on your insights, you can see when your people are online, and not only online, but when they're most engaged on Instagram. And so what Brock Johnson says is like, you'll see like a little, like a bar chart thing where it's like, okay, 6 a.m., 9 a.m., like in between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. for me, there's a big jump. And then it like kind of levels out and then it goes down and it goes back up. So he says that you want to post right before the big jump happens. So like for me, in between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., there's like a big gap in my bar chart. That means this is when people are getting on the platform. So I want to make my post right like in the middle of that, so that when people get on the platform, it'll be one of the things that they see. So that's kind of individual to, you know, everybody's audience, but you can check that out in your insights.
Is it just you click insights and then it shows the chart if you have a creator?
Let me.
I was trying to look, but it's not loading for me.
Yeah, it's like insights, and then you go to your audience, and when you click on audience, you can scroll down and it shows you the time, like right here.
Okay, that makes sense. Awesome.
So Beth, when you were talking about the big jump, you're talking about like the bigger.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. For you, that would be, I think it's at 6 a.m. Yeah, like either, well, you're probably not going to post at 4 a.m. So like in between 6 and 9 a.m., which, and here's the thing about that too. I'm not perfect with that. Like if it's telling me that I need to post at 6 a.m. and like my stuff's not together by 6 a.m., guess what? I'm not posting at 6 a.m. So like, don't let the start stop you. But if you can plan that stuff in advance, like you may notice that Broad Johnson posts really early in the morning most days. I think a lot of us is probably, I think it's like in that window where everybody's like, maybe they're drinking their morning coffee, they're like getting ready for work, you know, and they're just like letting the things play and scroll. So, so yeah, that is where you can find that though. And you, like I said, you want to catch it right before that big jump happens, because you want to catch them like when they're getting on the platform, so that your stuff isn't getting lost everywhere.
So one more question just from me. If you don't have a good area in your house, you feel like it's dirty, it's just not the ideal type of background, would you recommend like finding a wall, like a blank wall to be in front of and getting a ring light, or would you recommend going outside? Like I feel like that holds a lot of people back because they're like, it's not pretty, like it's not, I don't have the good backgrounds and lighting. And that is true for some people. I feel like some houses have really dark lighting and all the things. So what would you recommend for that?
Yeah, so I definitely think that matters as far as like getting people to stop their scroll. You know, if it's like super dimly lit and they can't really see what's happening in the video, or if they're distracted by, you know, a bunch of, and I don't want this to come across as like that it has to be perfect. This does not have to be perfect, but opening up a window and like standing in front of a blank wall, or going outside and standing. I used to always, I felt like my old house was that way. I couldn't like ever get a good picture. So I would just literally go outside, and we had like a little space of brick that didn't have a window on it. And I would just like take pictures or do whatever, like in front of that brick wall. So with natural lighting. So I definitely think that if you can eliminate those distractions and make it a little, you know, brighter with natural lighting or a ring light or something, you can get like a $20 10-inch ring light on Amazon. You don't have to have like a big $100 one. Or go Diamond and ask for it for a gift. Just kidding. You're like, shut up. But yeah, I definitely think that matters too.
Yeah, and also the batch content, you guys, that way like you're not sitting here and you're like, I'm posting at 8 p.m. and it's dark outside and you can't record your reel. That's why you batch content like on a Saturday or whatever, and change outfits and do different sounds, like 3 to 4 reels, and it literally takes like 3 minutes. Like it's so easy after you learn the wording or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, any other questions? Last chance. I know we've taken up like an hour of your time, but
this was so good though.
Yeah, it was so good. I love this so much. Thank you for all the tips.
You're so welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.